Welcome back to the Pursuit Zone. I'm Paul Schmid, and I interview explorers from around the globe to bring you their exciting stories. These are people that dream big, break out of their comfort zones, and take on ambitious pursuits. This is episode 196 with Zach and Leah, where we talk about their experience working for 5 months at McMurdo Station in Antarctica. We also talk about their experience traveling Vietnam and Thailand, and what it's like to run their YouTube channel. So let's start the show, and let me introduce my guests. They saved their money and quit their jobs to begin traveling the world with the goal of reaching all 7 continents. Their 4th continent, Antarctica, is an expensive place to get to, so they applied for jobs at McMurdo Station, a U.S. Antarctic research base with a summer population of about 1,200 people. You can learn more about their 5 months at McMurdo and their other travels at their website, peregrination-travel.com, as well as their YouTube channel, Peregrination. Zach and Leah, welcome to the Pursuit Zone.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
We're so excited to be here.
So I watched some of your videos, so I know a little bit about you guys, and I know that you met at a summer job in Washington State. What was the job?
We met at a summer job in 2013 working at Lake Crescent Lodge, and we had different jobs. I was there on just a summer internship after my sophomore year of college, and he was just there actually just trying to earn money over the summer between semesters with his best friend. So he and his best friend drove up from Texas all the way to Washington State, and that is how we met. We had different jobs. I was kind of all over the place. I was just like the, go and fetch it kind of person being, having an internship. But Zach, the first year, worked at the gift shop. So he was very important.
Yeah, so little trinkets by the lake. My view was beautiful and just got to talk to people all day.
So is that in like a state park or a national park?
The Olympic National Park. That's where we met. It's a beautiful place. If no one's ever been to the Olympic National Park, you need to go there. It is absolutely fantastic.
Well, what did you guys study in college?
I was in the business school at the University of North Texas in Texas, and I got a degree in marketing, which I used after college and got my dream job, and I really like marketing, so that was amazing. And then Leah studied in Maryland.
I studied hotel and restaurant management. I went to a very local school, and at the time I wanted to become a baker. I thought that was my passion and my calling, and that did not turn out to be my passion or my calling, and it's definitely not something I did after college. But it is definitely an interesting degree to have.
When or how did this idea of wanting to quit your jobs that you had and travel full time, when and how did that start?
We were living the 9 to 5. We had an apartment, and I liked my job. Leah kind of liked her job. And I started looking at our expenses and realizing that we spent 25 to 30% of our yearly income on travel. And I was like, whoa, we spend a lot of money on travel right now. And we didn't want to scale that back. We wanted to travel more. And so it was like we were finding all these people that were being able to travel on half the price that we were. And Leah came to me one day and she said, I really don't like my job and I want to do something different. I don't know if that's live somewhere else, but I just want to do something different. And we kind of discussed this idea of quitting everything and traveling for just a year. And then after that finished, we would see where life took us. And it kind of manifested over a week. And then at the end of the week, we were like, I think we want to do this, but not really sure. And then we decided to tell all our friends and family, which all of a sudden made it real. And we said we have a target date a year from now, which was the date to leave was February of 2019. And we're going to move to Thailand is what we just told everybody. And all of a sudden it became real. And we were like, oh, we cannot back out of this anymore. And so basically it went from a spark of an idea to something that we were highly committed to in about a week and a half.
How far in advance did you buy your tickets to Thailand?
I was trying to find a super cheap ticket to Thailand. I was using all the stuff that I read online and how to find cheap flights. So I was waiting to pull the trigger on buying our flights, also because I didn't know if it was going to be real or not. But once Leah put her resignation in December, it became very real. And we pulled the trigger to buy the flights in December. And then 3 months after that, we left in February.
And you guys saved a pretty hefty amount. Your budget for, I guess that was for a year, was $75 a day. So that's pretty good.
We'd saved our money for about a year. We really lived very frugally. All of 2018. And so we had been working in like the corporate world for about 3 years. And so we had money saved up until we decided really like, this is what we want to do. So for almost the entire year of 2018, that is when we saved our money and then bought the tickets and then decided to leave. So when we left the United States, we had about $20,000 in our bank accounts that would, over hopefully a year, sustain us.
That's each or that's together?
Together.
Okay, so, well, certainly living for 5 months in McMurdo will help your budget out. How did you learn about that opportunity?
Back in 2011, when I was a junior in high school, I was looking for seasonal jobs. I just found out that was a thing. I didn't know you could go work somewhere remote in a beautiful place for 3 to 5 months and then come back to real life. And so I found a couple jobs. The one that I went to go to in Washington and meet Leah. And then I found this Antarctica job, which I just put on the back burner. I was like, that's never going to happen. That takes a requirement of 5 months. And there's no way I can miss Christmas and Thanksgiving with my family. And so it's just this kind of dream that I thought wasn't attainable. But I found it in 2013. And it wasn't until life presented us with an opportunity to travel in 2019, 6 years later, that I asked Leah, would you be crazy enough to do something like this with me?
And I pretty much was like, no. That's like, what a crazy commitment that would be. And at the time, I mean, this was around like the time that we kind of left for our year-long travel. I mean, this was the very beginning of 2019 when he came to me with this kind of like idea. And then all of a sudden we're sitting down and we're applying to jobs in March. And then all of a sudden we're getting interviews for these positions in April. And so it just kind of happened. Like, it wasn't really a premeditated idea. I mean, at least from my part, I had no idea about it. Zach had it kind of in the back of his mind. And I think it was really like pushing ourselves out of the 9 to 5, have an apartment, go to a regular job, have a very kind of normal life, really set the idea in his mind ablaze that like, that is actually possible for us to do now. That's kind of how it started.
When you're looking through the paperwork or the website or whatever for this, what jobs are available for you to do?
There are a lot of jobs for you to do. You can cook. You can be a steward like we were. There are thousands of containers down there that need to be moved around for science. And so you can be a material handler and drive big machinery around. There is a waste department down there because all the waste that is created in McMurdo needs to be shipped out. There's also a sanitation department, so you can be a janitor, which is not the funnest job, but you get to listen to music all day. And hey, you're living in Antarctica. And there's a couple more science jobs that require extensive background to get those. But yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do with a lot of different backgrounds. Most of the people that were down there did not do what they did in Antarctica before they got to Antarctica. You have your 9 to 5 job, and they can tell that you're a self-starter and that you're really good at working. And then in the interview process, they're like, hey, would you be okay with being a janitor? I know you made a lot more money than this before, but do you want to come to Antarctica? And that's kind of how it works. Yeah,
we kind of went into this whole like application process with full knowledge that we probably weren't going to be hired because it's actually it's very uncommon for first-time applicants to even be hired. And I think we were pretty realistic with what they would actually hire us for. So neither of us have experience with handling like heavy machinery. And we really didn't want to scrub toilets. So we applied to a lot of like very on the lower end kitchen responsibility type jobs. So like being in a baker, which is actually really hard to get. It's not a very low end job. It's actually really important. But we didn't know that at the time. So we applied to be a baker, and then we applied to be a steward, and we applied to be just like a prep cook, things that we thought like, oh, we might actually have a chance of getting those. And we both have kind of culinary backgrounds, even if it was just like being a server or being a very minor prep cook in a kitchen at one point in our lives. So we have a bit of kitchen experience and service experience. So we thought that was probably the best avenue for us to actually get a job there.
So you guys are getting paid?
Yeah, we got paid.
Oh, wow. I didn't.
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
It just dawned on me when I was sitting in this interview that I thought it was an exchange. It was like a volunteer thing in exchange for staying there for free and getting free food.
Yeah, it's really too good to be true. You don't get paid that much is what people say down there. But like we're viewing it, you get your free ticket down there and then yes, food and accommodation and everything is paid for.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would probably go down there for free just to have the experience. But
Great.
depending on who you work for, you do get paid, although it's not a lot. And we didn't get paid a lot for what we did, but it was something.
And fun.
So you guys decided, I think it was a 5-month stay that you had. Are there different lengths of stays?
There are different lengths of stays. We were signed up for 5 months because that's the peak season when most of the research is done, because the continent's warm enough. You can get to a lot of remote places very easily by helicopter or by land tractor. And so that was the 5-month stay we were there for. You can also be there for 3 months. There are some contracts that are only a month. And then there are also contracts where you stay a whole year. The longest you can stay in Antarctica is 14 months, because after that, you kind of go crazy. There's a condition down there called T3.
Yep, that it actually kind of affects your memory. So being down in Antarctica, everything is the same. You're seeing the same people, you're doing the same job, you're seeing the same buildings. And after a while, you kind of develop this condition that you stop remembering as much as you could. So they only let you stay in Antarctica for about 14 months. And then you have to go back to New Zealand to kind of get some like city time. So you can get, out of your routine, out of the monotony of being down there. We did not experience that, I don't think. I mean, I think I'm a pretty forgetful person, to be honest, any day of the week. But by the end of our stay, I think maybe we did. I don't know. It's hard to say. But there are people down there who had been there for almost an entire year. And they were saying that they definitely had been experiencing some very minor memory loss where you walk into a room and you don't remember why you're there. And that seems kind of like everybody's had that experience, right? Everybody's done that, where they walk into a room and they're like, why did I come in here again? But it happens more often.
Yeah, I guess your brain just, because it's seeing the same stuff all the time, it just says, oh, that's not important. I'm just going to shut it down and not worry about it. And then you forget.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really is, you eat in the same place as every meal. Every meal's the same place. There's no place you can get, I'm not going to change the restaurant up. I'm going to go to a different grocery store. You don't even get in a car. Most jobs, you don't even get in a vehicle. And so you're in the same circle over and over and over again. Yeah.
Now, what does a steward do?
Well, a steward is a very important job. It's one of the most entry-level jobs you can have in Antarctica at McMurdo Station. And your job is pretty much making sure that the cafeteria is running smoothly. So you're putting out food for the people. You're restocking stuff on, in the grab and go station. You're restocking the deli station. It's a lot of restocking, and it's a lot of cleaning of the cafeteria. It's not called the cafeteria down there. We call it the galley, but you're in charge of washing all of the dishes and washing all of the pots and pans that the kitchen staff dirty up. It's a very labor-intensive job. I don't think either of us knew exactly how labor-intensive it would be before we got there. But we both have been kind of grunt workers in the restaurant business before. So it wasn't like, oh, I've never done this before. It's a lot of people down there maybe hadn't had restaurant experience. So it was kind of brand new to them. But thankfully, we weren't surprised about exactly what we were doing. We had done it before. But it is a very important role, and you get to meet a lot of the community because everybody has to come through the galley to get 3 meals a day. So you get to see the entire community almost every single day. It's a great job.
And what were the interviews like that you went through?
They were pretty intensive. It's rare that first-time appliers get interviews, right? And I think it's because we did have some restaurant experience behind, on our resumes, that we got interviews, and they set up a time for our interview, and it was over the phone. And it was so funny because this happened all in May, and we were in the Philippines. And so there was an 11-hour time difference between Colorado, which is where people were calling us from, and the Philippines. So at 9 a.m. Colorado time, it was 11 p.m. in the Philippines. They were pretty much just hour-long conversations. And it was interesting because they asked you about your prior job experience. But I think what we both got from the interviews were they're trying to make sure that you're a normal person, at least as normal as any person can be. Because when you're down there in Antarctica, you can't really leave. That's a huge expense to them to get you off the continent. So they're trying to just make sure that you're as normal as you possibly can be, that you work well with others, that you're not going to get, in any trouble down there that you're a responsible person. And so you actually have 2 interviews. So one is about an hour-long phone conversation with someone who turned out to be our supervisor. And then a follow-up interview, which is over the phone again, just to kind of like make sure that, yes, this is a sane person, they will be a good worker, and they are a prime candidate to come down.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. You got to do some due diligence and weed out the undesirables.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, if you stay in the winter, then you have to take a psychology test to make sure that you're fit enough to be in the darkness for 3 months.
Thankfully, we were there in the light, in the austral summer where the sun never goes down. So I don't think we had to go through as intensive interview processes as someone who was wintering over, but it was still pretty intense.
How was that experience like to be in the sunlight all the time?
I thought it was going to be a lot more fun than it was, but I started to realize I really miss sunsets. And in the middle of summer, I mean, because the sun didn't go down for all 5 months we were there. We had a couple sunsets at the beginning and the end of our stint, but for the most part, the sun didn't go down all day. So when you come out of the bar, yes, there are 2 bars on the station. When you come out of the bar at 12 o'clock at night, the sun is up and it's basically noon. And I just found myself daydreaming about laying in a bed of grass, because there's no grass down there, looking at the night sky when I got out of Antarctica. And not that Antarctica wasn't beautiful, but it was just like this wandering thought kept happening over and over again of like, what do stars look like? Because I haven't seen any in months.
Yeah, it definitely messes with your sleep schedule too. I think that was what it affected to me the most, was our sleep schedule. Because I could figure, like I found out that I could take a nap anywhere that it was dark. You know, you're so used to being in a light room all the time, and you go outside and it's light all the time. So if you're put in a dark space, your body just shuts down because it's like, oh, it's nighttime, even though you're inside. It's like, this is a dark place. It is time for our body to rest. So it really messes with your internal clock.
So you guys are getting paid. They're paying for your ticket down, and they're paying to get you back out. And I believe the last stop before you go down there is in Christchurch, New Zealand. And I understand there's some sort of an orientation that goes on there. What happens in that orientation?
Yes, there is orientation. It's only 1 day, and they give you an overview of what the station is like. So it's not necessarily about the job that you're going to have, or like who your managers are, or like, you know, that type of thing. It's more like this station, it's a very rare community. And so there are rules that you have to adhere to. And a lot of it was focused on trash. And so like, how do you properly dispose of your trash? How are you going to fit into this community? And what are your kind of like everyday responsibilities that you wouldn't normally have in your regular life, being in the community that you're from? So it was more like, this is what McMurdo Station is. You know, these are the other stations in Antarctica that we communicate with. This is, you know, what their populations are. And so it was more of like, what is Antarctica going to be like? And what is your role?
How many people were in the orientation with you?
There were multiple flights down to the ice in October. So we were actually in different orientations. We were both flown to New Zealand from Texas separately, and then down to the ice separately. So in my orientation, there were about, I'd say 100 people. What about you, Zach?
Whoa. Oh my gosh. There were about 25 people in my orientation.
So once you get down there, then what happens? Do they send you directly to your accommodation?
You land on the ice in this huge airplane. Zach was in a cargo airplane used by like the military, and I was just kind of in this normal, just a regular plane that you'd take anywhere. So they usher you off this plane, and it's absolutely crazy because you're just going out into this desert of ice, and there's nothing that can really prepare you as a first timer, because you're thinking like, yeah, it's going to be cold, but you're not expecting your breath to literally be taken away, not because of the beauty, but because of how dry the environment is. You can't even believe what you're seeing, or like what's happening to your body, or that the precipitation on your face is literally freezing as you're walking to your van. You're taken on like a 45-minute bus ride, let's say, to McMurdo Station, and they usher you in, and they give you your keys to your dorms, and then you're kind of, you know, you're set free to figure out where exactly you're going to be living for the next 5 months.
What's your room like?
It was pretty much dorm style living for everyone. Most newcomers, they're put in like the main building where the galley is. But because we came down as a couple and they knew that, we were given accommodation in like pretty much just a dorm building. Like if you were ever living in a dorm in college, that's exactly what it is. There's a communal bathroom.
A shared bathroom.
And you don't have like a kitchen or anything. You know, you're not in charge of any of your own meals. So it's like, you know, going to the mess hall. It's pretty basic. We had 2 twin beds in our room. So we had to like shimmy those beds together to make one big bed so that we could at least sleep next to each other. One of us was always falling in the crack between the twin beds, but that was okay. And you have a window that you need a blackout curtain for because the sun is shining through all the time. And they give you like pretty much basic dorm furniture. So you have kind of like a wardrobe, you have a desk, you have a chair, you have some lamps, but it's very basic, but it works.
Did you guys bring that humidifier that I saw in a video, or did they provide that?
They actually provide those. Yeah, that's a really big thing because your body is just not prepared for the lack of moisture that's down there. And you would not believe how much lotion we went through while we were down there. We actually tried shipping ourselves lotion, but it never really got to us until we were about to leave because sending yourself mail in a big package doesn't really work. It's not very efficient, unfortunately. We had to buy a lot of lotion down there and you're not prepared. So they do offer humidifiers for you and you don't even have to pay for them. They're just like, you're going to need this. You're going to need to moisten up your room. Definitely add humidity to your space of living. So take it.
I saw the video you did on some of the things they sell in the store. And I thought the prices were pretty reasonable considering where you're at, except for the bottle of like a little jar of Vaseline, which was like $12, I think you said. What the heck?
Yeah, it was $12. That was like the one thing. We had some work Vaseline because each station has a like moisturizing station. That's how dry it is down there. And so we were able to get a little bit from our workstation and just use that and ration it out enough so that we wouldn't have to buy the $12 bottle of Vaseline. But everything else down there, like you said, yeah, pretty reasonable price.
That's so funny that you say that because we thought that same thing. We're like, $12 for Vaseline. You know, how is that even possible? Yeah, because everything else is just like normal price. It's like going to Kroger, you know?
All right. You got your jobs. You got your place to live. I don't think I asked you about your work schedule. How many like hours a day and how many days a week are you working?
Oh, it's super intense. It is 54-hour weeks for everyone, station-wide. The whole station, whatever role you are, whether that's a scientist or a steward like we were, you get 1 day off a week. And so we were down there for 5 months and we were able to because we were down there for 5 months, get 4 holidays: Thanksgiving, New Year's Day. There's a day that you pack before you leave. And then there's an extra day for Christmas. You have like 4 2-day weekends, but the rest of it, you just get 1 day off. And everyone is down there for science. And because, like we've said before, it's very expensive to run that operation, everyone is working overtime as hard as they can to get the most research done in a short amount of time.
Okay, so you mentioned, Zach, there's a couple of bars. So when you do have some time off, what else is there to do? How did you guys keep yourselves occupied?
Like when we first got there, like Leah said, it was so cold and we heard all these stories in orientation about how you could go hiking or take a bike out on the ice and ride it. And we were like, that is never going to happen because it's too cold. But as summer came, it did warm up and we were able to take bikes out on the ice. There's a hike that you can go up to a glacier that's not that far away. There's about 5 or 6 hikes from town that are round trip like 4 miles, but you can't go too far out of town. And then there are random events throughout. There's really too much stuff to do because there are random events throughout the week. Like there were 3 yoga classes a week. There were HIIT workout classes every week. The bars had karaoke every other week. And yeah, with random art projects and different events happening throughout the station, I can't name them all because we'd be here forever. There was really too much stuff to do. So we found that went down there looking to be introverts and, stay in our room and it be like living in Antarctica, like everyone thinks it's going to be. But it really is such a close-knit community. And like we said, you eat every meal in the cafeteria and you hear about all these events from your friends and then you're supposed to go to these events and it's just every day is a new experience. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do down there. But there are a couple things that only happen at the end of summer, and one of those is going camping. And so you get to go out overnight, and you have to make sure you have the next day off. And they set you up in a little spot, and they say, here's a tent, and you're out on the sea ice above the ocean, and you have to set up a tent, and you can't make a fire. And so you just bring all your layers because it's going to be really cold. And you set up your tent, you have some hot cocoa, and then hopefully you sleep that night. That was actually the best night of sleep I got the whole time I was in Antarctica because it was cold, I was warm. But for Leah, sleeping in the tent was not as fun because she was freezing.
Yeah, I was freezing cold. So yeah, there are like trips that you can go on. They have a whole recreation department down there just to like make things interesting because everyone's, in the same boat where they're trying to keep themselves sane in this very monotonous environment that we live in. So there are tons of clubs you can go to. There are 2 bars. There's the gym. You have all these options outside of work, but they also have these really fun recreation trips that you can go on. And so we were actually able to go camping in Antarctica. And surprisingly, to almost everyone, that was my first time camping ever. And we do have an entire video on it on our YouTube channel. So yeah, it was crazy.
I thought you did a pretty good job with your karaoke, Leah. And
thanks.
Tell me about Ice Stock.
So Ice Stock is so much fun. So it's actually the only music festival on the entire continent of Antarctica. So it's very special. It holds a very dear place in everyone's heart who lives down there. It's put on by some very few key people who are in charge of the band room down there. And it's surprising that you meet so many musically talented people who have nothing really to do other than play music if that's what that's what they want to do. So a lot of bands form over the course of the summer and the winter, but there's more people down there during the summer. So a lot of bands form in the summertime, and they just decide that like, all right, we're going to celebrate New Year's by having a huge music festival. It's called Ice Stock. And every band that has formed over the summer, or maybe new band that has formed just for Ice Stock, they play at this music festival that happens on New Year's Eve. And it starts at about 3 p.m. and it lasts till 1 a.m. the next morning on New Year's Day. And it is just incredible. It is so much fun. People dress up. People get really creative with their costumes. I mean, think of like the Coachella of Antarctica, but it's free to go to, and everyone on the stage. So it is such a big community builder. It is so much fun. And people just, they let loose, and it's New Year's. So you're going to have fun if you're drinking, if you're not drinking. It's a great time.
Leah, you were in Ice Stock, right? Because there was a video that you have on your channel of a band up there, and that was you singing, right?
That was me. Yeah, I do. I like to sing, and I'm not too bad at it. So a friend of mine who was a fellow steward, he and I had been playing music together over the course of the summer, and we knew this very talented fiddle player, and we invited him to kind of collaborate with us. Like, let's make a set list, if you will, 5 songs that everybody knows, that everybody's going to enjoy. And so, yeah, we played at Ice Stock, and we were called Snow White and the Hot Dog Rollers, which is a very strange name, but it's all steward and galley kind of like inside joking type of name. So Snow White is this big coffin looking type salad station in the galley, and the hot dog rollers are obviously hot dog rollers. So that's what we named ourselves. It was so much fun. If anybody loves music festivals, you can imagine how great it is. And then just knowing everybody on the stage and everybody around you, after working for 4 months together and living in the same place, you can just imagine how much fun it is.
Zach, I didn't see any footage of you doing karaoke on your channel.
I was in choir in high school, but my voice is not near the level that Leah's was at. And before I got to Antarctica, I walked off the plane. I was like 4 days after her, and she had gone to karaoke the night before. And people came up to me because they knew I was her boyfriend when I said Leah's my girlfriend. And they were like, "Oh, Leah, the one that's really good at singing at karaoke." And I was like, "What?" And so before I even landed on the continent, she had a reputation for her amazing voice down there because she did karaoke every karaoke night at the bar.
He's just saying that.
Okay, I want to understand a little bit about the people that are there. Can you guys give me just a quick idea of like what's the age range of people that are there?
There's two big things. There are no dogs in Antarctica and no children. So no children knocks out a lot of the middle-aged people, but there are some 35 to 55-year-old people down there that come just for a couple months and then they leave their kids back home. Or if you stay as a couple, you just decide that you aren't going to have kids. And a lot of the adventure-type travelers have already made that decision. But for the most part, it was people between the ages of 23 and 35. That you can get hired down there if you're 18, because that's the minimum age. But often, like we said before, there's a big conversation on whether you can handle these stressful situations in a place that you can't leave. And so they wait until about 22, 23 to hire you and have you come down there to make sure you're mature enough to handle these stressful situations.
There's a good age range. There's also, I'm not sure what the oldest person working in Antarctica is, what their age is.
I'd say 75.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So there's a really wide gap between ages.
So if you're in your 50s or your 60s, maybe you could have a shot at applying for one of these jobs too?
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of the plumbers down there were that age. And then the water salinization people were also of that age. And so you get a lot of experience in your niche. And then if you're in one of those trades, yes, you're going to get hired on the spot because you have a lot of experience in that.
Everybody who's down there makes the station run. So you have to have really, really skilled workers who are plumbers, who are electricians, who can fix cars, who can fix machinery that, most people have never even seen before. People who are scientists, and there's no age limit to being a scientist, but a lot of skilled workers who have had a lot of experience in their trade get hired down there, because if you don't have the correct staffing, you might not be able to use a piece of equipment that year because you don't have someone who knows how to fix it. So knowing a trade is really beneficial if you're trying to get hired down in Antarctica, because it's so important to have the right staff there.
Is everybody at McMurdo an American?
I believe so. Yeah. Zach?
There were some people living in the main building that were New Zealanders. Because we share very close ties with New Zealand, their base in Antarctica is only 1.5 miles away from McMurdo Station where we stayed. There's a lot of collaboration there. And then as groups come in to go to their own field camps, the U.S. station is the biggest on the continent. And so they come through McMurdo. Like the Italians come through there, Norwegians, I'm not sure, but probably a dozen different countries come through McMurdo. And if there's an ice storm, they could be stuck there for up to a week. So at any given time, there's probably 2 other nationalities, including Americans.
One of the things that I saw in your videos that really piqued my interest was when you were talking about some of the people that you meet down there that are like really serious travelers. I don't remember exactly how you said it, but like, boy, these people really have traveled. They know really how to budget travel. And I think we can learn a lot from these people. Tell me a little bit about these people that you met down there that are these, serious travelers and some of the budget ideas that you got from them.
Yeah, so our budget of $75 a day was very comical to them because they were like, oh, we can travel America on that. Whereas we were like, oh, we need $150 a day to travel America. So basically what it boils down to is saving money on accommodation. And that's what they helped us figure out. And so a lot of the times they are going to stay at couch surfing places where you can just sleep on a couch, or accommodation that you can find for free. We had a couple girls who found free accommodation by using the Tinder app and asking on the first line of the conversation, like, hey, could I just stay at your place and we can just like hang out and have a conversation, and I'll bring over some tomatoes if you have something else, and we'll have dinner. That worked a lot of the time. And then we had another group of people that were hitchhiking through many different countries. I mean, America, the Philippines, New Zealand, you name it, and just staying places in a tent once they got to their destination. And so it's like these extreme ways of traveling, which I would love to do. But like we said, Leah's first time camping was in Antarctica. And so she requires a little bit better of an accommodation than camping on the side of the road. After
You're making me sound snobby.
I'm sorry. But yeah, basically saving money in every way. We also met a woman who was from Texas, and she traveled the Amazon by hitchhiking rides on trade boats that were going to different villages and trading cattle and bags of rice. And she actually slept on a bag of rice for 9 days as she was crossing the border. So yeah, it just interesting, unique stories that we would never be able to find anywhere else, and truly inspired us to go some cool places after this. So our Africa trip that we're planning for the end of this year or next year, depending on how the virus affects everything, was inspired by a couple of the people we met down in Antarctica.
And everybody has a very strange story to tell. You know, like we were definitely not the most traveled people down in Antarctica. And I think Antarctica attracts a certain type of person who has experienced very strange things, because it's just, you know, packing up your life and going to Antarctica is not just something that someone does. It's a very strange thing to decide because of what it is, where you are, and how long you have to be there. You probably wouldn't meet anyone that didn't have a very cool or inspiring story to tell.
I was curious who's maintaining law and order on the base.
Well, there is a gigantic fire department of like 40 men who are from all over the United States, and they're kind of the police force, just because we have to have them, because like we said, it's so dry there that if something caught on fire, everything would burn down. And so there has to be a big team in the first place, and there's enough of them that they can split up, and some can stay at the station while others go and take care of a dispute, whether that's a verbal dispute or a fight. But there's really no room for getting in trouble in Antarctica. And if you are found to make a dispute, you are sent home immediately. And the people that in that, to answer your question, is the fire department.
Well, what did you guys find to be the most challenging thing about working at McMurdo?
It's such a change of pace, I think, for anyone to go from living in regular society where you have to go to the grocery store maybe once a week or twice a week, and then you have to go get gas for your car, and you have all these errands that kind of pile up on you that make life a little bit more hectic. When you get to Antarctica, you don't have any of that. So it was hard to almost adjust to having free time at first. But then you realize, like, oh, there's too much going on down here, that there's no free time. So what started as we were going to have too much free time turned into not having any free time at all. And that's probably the most difficult part for me.
I think the hardest part for me was losing my phone, which sounds really dumb. But when you're down there, there is no cell phone connection and there is no Wi-Fi. The only way to get the spotty internet that exists down there is by hooking up your computer. And so to not be able to get on Facebook and talk to my friends, or Instagram and look at that, or Twitter, to use diet apps, to look at the weather, just basic functions of my phone, just to not be able to use my phone was very different for me. And it was fun for the first couple months. You know, I was on a detox and I was able to be in the moment more. But after 5 months, it was like, okay, I'm ready to have Instagram at any time.
What did you guys like most about being down there?
For me, it's actually probably what Zach hated, and that was that I didn't have to have my phone. I loved that. I loved not having my phone glued to my hand, because I had a serious Instagram addiction before going down to Antarctica. But there's literally no use for your phone other than music that you can play and or having it used as your alarm clock. So I thought changing the way that I viewed my phone, and I use my phone every single day, that was actually very beneficial for, you know, my soul even. Like, I'll go that far. It was actually really great to detox from having to use my phone or being addicted to the apps that I used. So I thought it was actually, that was the best part.
I think for me, the best part was I was going down there looking to read books and really be an introvert, but it turned out to be the opposite. And McMurdo really made me more an extrovert. And I think the thing I'm taking away from Antarctica is that I'm able to talk to people on the street a lot more comfortably and just be myself. You know, traveling the world, you have to do that anyways. And like when we got to China, everyone looked different and we were the only travelers there, and everyone was so nice. And it was really easy to communicate with everybody through smiles and laughing. But I think the thing I took away from Antarctica is that even back in America, people just on the street, I am more comfortable in my own skin because you have to be such an extrovert in Antarctica. And so I'm a lot more of an extrovert now. And I've always wanted to be one, and I finally am.
Yeah, like social barriers are really taken down in McMurdo just because no one is more important than another person. Even if you're the one scrubbing toilets, everybody appreciates that you're scrubbing their toilet. You know, like no one's better than anyone else. So that, and then also having no phones to be staring at every day, you really just begin to experience what life was like before having Wi-Fi available to you at all times. And as millennials, I think that was actually really eye-opening to us to actually have, be forced to be having conversations with people our age instead of having our eyes, focused on our phones, trying to avoid social interaction sometimes, which I think is very common for young people right now. So it really opened us up. And yeah, I would say that was probably definitely another favorite part that happened to us while we were down there also.
Well, let's talk about some of your other travels that you did. From watching some of your videos, I know that you both enjoyed being in Vietnam. Tell me maybe a few things you liked about Vietnam.
Vietnam was amazing. Our first country was Thailand. And it was fun, but there are a lot of people. And so when we got to Vietnam, we felt like we really could explore the local way. And we could get on the back alleys. And we loved the way how people lived there. And it was a communist society. And so lots of the structures were built in a way that people are just living in these little hallways that are right off the street. And so the street becomes their living room because they don't really have a lot of living space in their bedroom. And so when you're out on the street, everyone's on the street because, like I just said, it's their living room. And so you're able to walk down the street and people are having dinner or they're drinking beer or they're shining their shoes or they're doing their laundry. And it's just everyone's out and it feels like an unreal place it's just the amount of action and it's just so inviting. I can't wait to go back. I'm getting so excited. I don't even know what to say because it was so much fun.
Yeah, Vietnam was definitely one of our favorite places. Most of people's days are spent outside on the street, buying food, doing laundry, like having social interactions, riding bicycles. It was just, there's so much action out there on the streets. It was very cool.
What cities did you travel to in Vietnam?
We entered Vietnam twice within our first, I think, 3 months of traveling. So first we went to Ho Chi Minh City, which is so bustling. It was like a huge shock to us to see how many people live in that city and how many bicycles and motorbikes, mopeds are used on the streets every single day. It's kind of insane. From there, we headed south to Can Tho, where we were able to experience a beautiful river market. We have a video about that too. So that was really cool. And then I think we exited the country for a while. We flew back into Hanoi, which we absolutely loved because it has that really cool street culture. And we stayed in kind of like the old quarter, and it's just amazing. Everyone's so nice and friendly, and the food is so good. And from there, we went to Ha Long Bay. We spent a night on a boat, on a cruise, my first cruise. And it was just, spectacular views. People talk about Ha Long Bay and how beautiful it is, but you just really can't understand how gorgeous it is until you're there. So yeah, Vietnam was so cool. I would love to go back to Vietnam. Zach, we should definitely go back.
Then at the end, we went up to this place called Sapa, and it was in the mountains, and they had rice terraces just along the mountains. After thousands of years of digging these little ponds up and down the mountains, you were able to go walk in between them, and it's just like mountains of rice terraces. And that was a truly unique experience because the people up there in that part of Vietnam are completely different from the people in Hanoi, just a 3-hour bus ride away.
Tell me a little bit about being in Thailand.
My favorite part about Thailand is the tourist infrastructure and how easy it is to get around. I mean, these remote islands, you can get there by ferry super easily. The flights are cheap because a lot of tourists are there. The bus system is amazing. You can get from city to city and a sleeper bus very easily. I think it's a great stopping point for people that are looking for a more rustic experience in a very easy way, I guess you could say. When we first got there, we kind of hermited in our apartment for the first 4 nights. And we only went outside for 5 hours a day because we were like, okay, we're just starting this year of travel. Let's do it slowly. And then you kind of get with the pace of the city because it's a little bit faster. As you start traveling, you get in the backwoods a little bit more. But the locals are so nice and a lot of people know English. And it's just a very good gateway, I would call it, to the rest of the world. So, I mean, we started there and then went to Europe, and it was a great place to start, and I can't wait to go back. And I think Leah's favorite part was the food.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, Thailand is such an easy, almost like backpackers introduction to Southeast Asia. And I'm so happy that we started there because the people are wonderful. Thailand is the land of smiles, and that is absolutely true. Everyone is so nice. It's just in their culture, which is really great for tourists. And they've built such a great tourist infrastructure. But the food, oh my gosh, so good. We devoured so many different types of curry. We probably gained 10 pounds within our first 2 weeks of being there because it's just the food is fantastic and it's everywhere and it's really inexpensive. I don't know what the Thai baht is now, but when we were there, it was about 30 Thai baht to the dollar. And we spent it pretty much on noodles and coconut ice cream and Thai tea and
banana shakes.
Out. Yeah, banana shakes, any type of shake, watermelon shakes. We pigged out.
And what places did you travel to in Thailand?
We started in Bangkok for, I think, 6 days. We spent a total of a month in Thailand. And then we went up to Chiang Mai and toured around there for a while, rented a motorbike, and got to get in some of the more remote areas of Thailand. And then we left Thailand and came back and were in Bangkok for about a week and a half. And then we went down to Koh Tao. It's an amazing small island off the coast of Thailand. It's a very cheap way to learn how to scuba dive. And we were able to get both of our certifications for $350 a piece, which if we did the same thing back in America, it would have been $800. And instead of diving in murky lakes like we have in Texas, we were able to dive with fish and learn how to scuba dive with fish swimming around us. And our first couple dives were not, like I said, in lakes. They were on the reef in Thailand.
Yeah, that was spectacular. I mean, we even saw a sea turtle, which I think is pretty rare. We were really hoping to see a whale shark, but we did not see one. But Thailand is just so magical. I mean, it has so many different levels to it. So you can spend so much time in a city and still never see, the entire city and see all of the markets that it has to offer. And you can go down to, the Gulf of Thailand and go scuba diving. And there's just so much diving you can do. You would never be able to do all of it. It just has so much to offer and so many different islands and so many different beach towns. It is truly, truly wonderful country to visit. And we do plan on going back one day because I think it holds a very dear place in our hearts as one of the very first countries we ever really explored and a place that we learned how to scuba dive in.
Let's talk about the YouTube channel. First question is, what does peregrination mean?
So peregrination is a Latin term for a long or meandering journey. And I took Latin in high school, and so that really resonated with me from then. And when it came time to name our YouTube channel, instead of doing Zach and Leah, I was like, let's make it something fun that hopefully everyone remembers, but it's a hard thing to get in your mind because it's a weird word. But yeah, it's a long and meandering journey, and that's the type of journey we are on because we're now planning to travel for 3 more years after this.
It takes a while for you to recognize what peregrination or even how to say it. A lot of people are like, how do you say this word? They see it and they're like, I don't know how to say this. And so you kind of have to think of maybe a peregrine falcon and then the word nation. So peregrination. It's easier once you kind of get it in your head. But yeah, all of our family are like, what are you calling your channel? We were like, it has meaning. We promise.
Are you guys hoping to kind of turn this into a full-time career as travel vloggers, or are you just doing this for fun?
I think at the beginning we were, and I was trying to edit a lot of videos in a very short amount of time, and it was kind of like the hustle, and we were trying to just get it out there. And then we learned that all of our family was actually watching these videos, and we were able to connect with them on such a deeper level when we were traveling and when we didn't see them versus when we'd see them once a month and do the same kind of things over and over again. So it started as, yes, a way to make money. And then now we are just enjoying putting out videos and showing our friends and family what we're doing. If we do become travel vloggers and that is something that can sustain us, that'd be great. But for now, we're just really enjoying doing what we're doing and traveling and being able to see what we did that day and remember it in a video format.
So what's your least favorite part of YouTube?
That's a hard one. The least favorite part of YouTube is probably the algorithm, because the video that you think is going to be amazing and you spend so much time on turns into something that no one watches. And then the video that, one of our most watched videos is a Black Sea Black, and it's just a video we made for fun, and we go to the ocean and Leah makes a Greek salad, and that's it. And I don't know why people like that, but the algorithm shows it to people and they enjoy it. And so I guess that's really good. But when it comes for my job, planning content and where we're going and what that's going to look like, it's just really hard because you never know what's going to happen. So that's probably the hardest part about YouTube.
I'll tell you the part that I don't like, at least recently, is the comments section, because
oh yeah,
I follow a number of channels, and after you follow these people mostly because you like them, something about their content or their personality or whatever. So now with all this virus thing going on, I don't know what's going on, but it's like all of a sudden all these people come into the comments section, especially on travel videos, and make comments about, why are you traveling? This is crazy. You're supposed to be locked down and all this stuff. And it's like, who are these people that came into this channel all of a sudden and are saying all these terrible things?
Yeah, no, I think there is a lot more time now, too, because people are stuck at home. So not only could their commute's taken out of the equation, but they can also listen to YouTube in the background. And yeah, the trolls are just waiting to jump on anyone that does something wrong. And a lot of people don't realize that the people that are posting YouTube videos now at this moment, now 2 months from now, won't be the same. But at this moment, that video has already been produced in, February and January of this year. It's not happening currently. And so like our series that's going to last us until the middle of June was already made by March 1st. And so it's hard because a lot of the people aren't traveling, but yeah, the internet trolls are out because of this virus and they don't have to do anything else. They don't have anything else to do.
For sure. Well, what's your favorite part so far about YouTube?
I think our favorite part is the fact that we can make videos and look at it later and really remember that day. Especially when we first started traveling, every day was so different, and we really tried to cram a lot of travel into a short amount of time. We were in countries for 5 days, and then we would leave to the next country, and we didn't have time to process a lot of the things we were seeing and the experiences we were having. And so by having this video format and being able to edit the videos of the day that you had, you're able to relive that experience and remember it a lot better. I know because we traveled a lot last year, the 45 days that we didn't film, I remember a lot less. I probably only remember about 15 of those, and it's really hard to figure out what we did the other 30. But all of the days we videoed, I know what happened because I was able to relive that day and go through that again. That's not always a good thing because sometimes when I'm getting a shot of a temple or something, me and Leah are having an argument and then it comes up again and then we're like, oh, I forgot we never finished this. But for the most part, it's a really, really, really nice thing to have the video and be able to relive and remember what you did in that incredible experience.
Yeah, that's true. We have had to finish arguments because Zach's editing a video and he's like, oh yeah, remember that time when we had this argument? And you're just like, ugh, fine, let's finish this thing. So yeah, it's just so funny when you're videoing your life almost. It's hard to forget some good and bad, but mostly it's all good.
Zach and Leah, what's next for you guys?
The virus has complicated things a little bit. Currently, we're trying to leave in July and go to Europe before heading to Africa in September. And so we might have to cut the Europe part out, but we're really hoping on going to Africa in September and spending 45 days or more traveling from Nairobi, Kenya, all the way down to the end of South Africa in Cape Town. So we're currently trying to figure out how to do that by train, but there isn't a lot of information on that. So once we figure that out, we are trying to take a train through Africa, and it's going to be amazing. And then we'll come back for the holidays to see our family. And then January of 2021, we are going to go to South America for 5 months and do everything. Machu Picchu, Galapagos Islands, Patagonia, Ushuaia at the bottom of the earth. It's going to be amazing, and we are just so excited.
We're kind of in the same situation as almost everyone else is in the entire world, where we don't really know what's going to happen. So we really, really want to do all this traveling. We kind of had planned it out, and we're just hoping that things get a little bit more normal before we leave again for our next adventure, because I don't know, it's for people who've been traveling so much within the past year, it's hard to keep us from not traveling. So we have hopes, high hopes.
And how can people find you online if they want to learn more?
The best way to find us is our YouTube channel, like Leah said. It's Peregrination. And then our website is peregrination-travel. And on Instagram, it's peregrination_travel, as well as it's the same username on Facebook. But the best way to find us is our YouTube channel, Peregrination.
Okay, Zach and Leah, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story of McMurdo. I found it really interesting. And best of luck to you two on the YouTube channel and your future travels.
Thank you so much. We had such a good time.
Yeah, it's been so nice talking to you.
Thanks again for listening. This episode was recorded on April 6, 2020. To send me some feedback, you can write to me at paul@thepursuitzone.com, or you can leave me a voice message at speakpipe.com/thepursuitzone. The best way to support the podcast is to subscribe, and be sure to share this episode with your friends. For the subscription links, show notes, and more, visit thepursuitzone.com.